Hello drone video fans, and this is a video of exploring the Grand River. It's a river that runs through both Ashtabula and Lake counties. We're taking off here from the grassy shoreline, and I should have brought my landing pad because when the gimbal went through its warm-up, it went down and picked up some dew on the lens, but those droplets that you see on the lens will get blown off by the prop wash by the time we reach the bridge as we head upstream. We're flying out here towards the center of the Grand River, which you can see is a fairly good size. At this point it's several feet deep. They have a lot of canoeing, kayaking, and such activities, and fishing and whatnot in this river itself, because it just supports it. But usually all of that stuff is, the kayaking and canoeing is done more in the springtime when the water level is higher. We're heading here to the east, and the bridge that you see in front of you is a standard steel bridge, steel and concrete bridge construction, and that is actually Ohio State Route 534. To the left is going north, and to the right would be going south. Now as we come up closer to the bridge here, you'll get a chance to see a little bit of the underneath side of it, and when we get up nice and close to it, we'll pan back and forth. And I said to the left is north, and that leads to the city of Geneva and to Geneva on the Lake. And as we turn back in the other direction to the right, that's south, and that leads to the city of Trumbull. Okay, and so we continue turning. We're about 1,000 feet away from the bridge at this point. I looked all this up on the Google Maps before we did this shoot, just so I have an idea of how far we were going. Now I want you to keep your eyes kind of on the center of the river as we're heading back, because you'll see some ripples, and I believe that those ripples are made from some koi or carp or some kind of larger fish that seem to make these little ripples that we see when they actually show up twice during the during this our way back, and I think we've already passed them actually, but now we're heading towards the southern shore, where I noticed that there was some weed beds, and you'll see some ripples on the top of the water. Usually by these weed beds you find little panfish, crappies, bluegills, sunfish, and I was expecting to be able to see some in these weed beds over here, because I did see some little ripples on the top of the water, which kind of usually indicates that they're the little panfish are catching insects that are floating on the surface. But again, we didn't see any directly. Coming up now upon the ledge where there's a little bit of a waterfall, and much to my surprise, as I got to this ledge and panned the gimbal down so that the camera was facing down towards the water, I saw that there was a mother box turtle along with apparently one of her youngsters, and we'll be seeing that here shortly as we get to the ledge here. And there you can see the box turtle just to a little bit right of my shadow of the drone. There they are on the right hand side, and I'm going to straighten out the view here and then pan over them. I didn't want to disturb them, but they're resting there and letting water go past them, so that whatever it is that they eat just goes past them as the water runs over that ledge. I thought that was kind of slick that they knew enough to pick out that spot so the food would just more or less come to them and they didn't have to go to it. This center piece made out of concrete on the ledge over here constantly catches these pieces of driftwood, and it's always cluttered up with that driftwood. And if you remember in my last video, there was a fly fisherman in waders on the other side of the falls, fishing right around where those pieces of driftwood were hanging in the water there, but he didn't catch anything that I recall during the time that I was there. So now we're looking at the going to the downstream side of the bridge, and I decided rather than go underneath it at this point, I was going to just get some altitude and fly over the top of the bridge and then come down on the other side of it. And, just wasn't comfortable with taking it underneath there, because remember, anytime you go underneath one of these structures, you lose GPS stability, and strange things can happen. So we took a little bit of discretion here. So here we're on the other side now, and we're going to start dropping down. First thing I do is drop the gimbal down so that I get a better view of the river itself, and then we start to drop some altitude, and you can see the shadow of my Phantom there reflected in the water. And it's very much shallower on this side, on the what would be the western side of the bridge, and so thus there's not very many people doing canoeing or kayaking down this way because of the shallow water. We're coming up now on a section where there's a couple of I believe there's small ducks, some kind of waterfowl. There was another bird flying off in one direction. I think that he probably was with the other two, but once we get over this section where the water is running over these little ledges, I'll be stopping it, and you'll see a couple of I believe there's some kind of small duck. They'll be moving here, and you'll see them moving back and forth, and they're apparently feeding on something that's right there by by the water flowing over those shallow rocks. So we go a little bit further down here. There goes that seagull that we had scared away off the bridge earlier. He continues to follow me and shadow me throughout this entire trip downstream. In front of me are some power wires, and remember, I'm watching this through a little 8-inch tablet about 700 feet away, so I'm making my best guess that I'm dropping down and low enough to get underneath these power lines, and I was just low enough to get underneath them. Thankfully, you really can't tell that well when you're looking at a very small screen. Everything, the proportions and things are distorted a little bit. You can see the bend in the river up ahead. That bend is 1,000 feet from the bridge. There goes the shadow of that seagull who's shadowing me as I fly along the river here. And you can see how lush it is on either side of the river, the grass and the trees and bushes and shrubs and so on. But at this point we're at the bend in the river. It actually turns to the left here, and then it turns back to the right and continues on. We're going to do a slow panorama here, taking in, this would be the north shore of the Grand River, and then the Grand River itself facing to the east. You can see the sun reflecting off of the river, and then turning towards the south, and on the south side of the river there's a little picnic area or park area where people go on that side of the bridge. So now we're going to head up when we start heading back upstream towards the bridge. We're going to fly closer to the northern shore of the the river just to see, you know, if there's anything on that side of note. And we're getting closer to where we saw those two ducks previously, but looks like they've sort of taken off and are not in the area anymore. But it was interesting seeing them there initially. Again, you can see, you know, how low the level of the water is. This is where the ducks were, but they're obviously not there anymore. We're going to sort of pan here to the left and see some more of that shale rock formation. There's shale, you know, the whole area is just, you know, a lot of shale and some slate, but that's what makes up the river bottom here on the Grand River. So now we're going to push forward and go ahead back towards the bridge, raising the gimbal up a little bit so I can see. Remember, I'm still watching this in a little 8-inch tablet, so I didn't want to fly into the bridge, but you know, we can see clearly into the water here. It's nice and clear, and we're going to get up fairly close to the bridge, and wanted to kind of get into the shadows of the bridge itself to see if I could see anything there, but there was nothing to see really. At this point, I'm trying to decide which part of the bridge I'm going to fly underneath, because I had made up my mind that I was going to fly underneath the bridge, and I was going to either do it here over the wooden section, or to the left of that underneath the steel section. Here's the shadow part of the Grand River by the bridge, and didn't see anything there. So we decided it'd be easier for me to go here towards the shore and fly underneath the steel section of the bridge. Remember, this 140-foot section of steel bridge was added after the 1913 flood, which sort of wiped out all the land leading to the actual wooden bridge itself. We're going to drop down here and keep going down until, again, I'm looking in my little 8-inch tablet till I realize that I'm underneath the bridge itself and can safely pass underneath it. And kind of a little bit of a thrill going underneath there, but no problems, because we didn't spend much time underneath there. Now we're coming up to that ledge that we had visited before, where we had seen the turtles. So I thought I'd just take a quick pass along this ledge to see if we could see anything additional on this side. I mean, it's nice seeing the water flowing over that ledge, and gives you an idea of the current of the river. And as we go this way, remember the spot where there was the dead wood and the driftwood that hung up on that central support of the ledge over here. Well, as I was flying, again, remember, I'm looking at this little tablet, and I just barely cleared that obstacle, and you know, I probably should have been a little more watchful, but no harm, no foul, I guess. As we look along the edge there, I didn't really get a chance to see anything. So we're back here over the land, and we're getting ready to land it. And hope you enjoyed this little trip, this little exploration of the Grand River. There'll be more videos coming up, so do plan on stopping back again. We enjoy your watching the videos. Thanks for watching.